Alright, hello everybody. This is good. It's going to be a while. This is recorded a while before the final episode of the Fight Cards actually airs, but it'll be posted like right after. So, welcome to back to the Lego Battlebots Season 2. We have just concluded an incredibly long fight card round. 80 bots getting 4 fights over 32 episodes. That's 100, yeah, 160 fights, which is a lot of fights. And after all that time, it is finally time to reveal the bracket. Who got in, who did not, how high did your favorite bot get? Did they even get in? It's time to reveal it all. We'll reveal it as his Battlebots has done for the past few seasons, breaking it down into quadrants with the top seed being revealed and then the rest of the quadrant. Starting off with quadrant 4, the number 4 overall seed is Hypershock. Hypershock, the lowest ranked undefeated bot here. After a great They did finish the season great against Biohazard. However, their mauling at a near loss at the hands of Riptide really hurt the season, but still 4-0, number 4 overall seed, very good for this one. After going winless season 1, honestly, it's been an incredible season for Hypershock already, and they have the opportunity to just advance far in the tournament. Let's see who's with them in the brackets. In this part of the bracket. Alright, we have a lot of different bots here, starting off with the 29th seed Snowfall. They'll be taking on Hypershock. They've had a bit of an up and down season, lost their first fight against Endgame, bounced back with 2 incredible wins over Onger and Retrograde, and then lost brutally in the main event to Tantrum. But Snowfall is we have seen as proven to be a very dangerous weapon, a very dangerous flipper. So Hypershock honestly had its work cut out for him in this fight. It's going to be a very tough match for the number 4 overall seed. And going right below it, it's the 13 seed Copperhead versus the 20 seed Hammerhead. Very interesting match we have with Copperhead. Of course, dropped a bit after getting ripped in half by Bloodsport. Hammerhead had very surprising to see it in the tournament. They went 3-1 in the regulars, only losing to Flipper King Thunderbolt, which was very impressive. Hammerhead is a resilient and devastating hammerbot. In fact, it's one of the only hammerbots in the competition. It has been very effective so far. We'll see how they fare against Copperhead, who did do very well in the early stages of the fight cards. Going right below it, the 5 seed Siege Engine taking on the 28 seed Talon. Siege Engine barely spent a minute in the arena in its first 3 fights. And despite their loss to Sawblaze in the final main event of the season, they have done incredibly well against some incredibly tough opponents. As they get the number 5 overall seed, a very high ranking for this team. Of course, they got the 9 seed last season, made it all the way to the top 8. Now they have the number 5 seed, and they draw the 28 seed Talon first. Talon also had a bit of an up and down year. Won their first fight against Icewave, then lost to Extinguisher, beat Gruff, and then got mauled by Whiplash. I'd say it's a very tough match for Talon, especially with how Siege Engine has been performing this season. And I feel like it's going to be very difficult for a lot of these bots to take down Siege in the same way that Sawblaze did. And right below it, the 12 seed Extinguisher versus the 21 seed Red Blow. After missing the tournament by 1 vote last season, Extinguisher takes a very high seed at number 12. Of course, it's not the highest seed, but it's still a very impressive feat for such a little bot. They went 3-0, only to lose to Rookie, the other glitch, in their final fight. But still, that's an incredible season so far. They draw the 21 seed Red Blow, who we did just see outlast Bombshell in nearly basically 3-minute fight. Extinguisher does seem to be a lot less reliable than Bombshell. So we'll see if Red Blow is able to pull off the upset there, or if Extinguisher can keep their season going. Alright, we are moving on to quadrant number 3 after like 4 minutes of talking. And your number 3 overall seed is Bloodsport, the devastating horizontal bar spinner. Has just been wreaking havoc all season. Same day delivery, Cobalt, Duck, and then Copperhead all just ripped apart by the force of that mighty 3D printed bar. It's just been ridiculous. Bloodsport was 2-2 last season, and now they're one of the top seeds, and honestly, quite a dangerous threat heading into this tournament. Let's see who's joining them in this part of the bracket. All right, they draw the 30 seed Bombshell first. Bombshell was ranking tanked after their very unfortunate loss to Red Blow earlier in the season. Bombshell looked very impressive in its 2 wins over Captain Shredder and Endgame. However, its 2 losses to Hypershock and Red Blow really brought it down. But if they went 3-1, they could have had like a top 16 seed. But now they have to face one of the deadliest weapons on the planet. Going right below, we could see a Bloodsport Duck rematch. Duck doing very impressively, 3-1 after I believe they went 1-3 last season. Either way, Duck did not do incredible last season. Now they're in the tournament. You see Witch Doctor getting a massive ranking improvement from the 30 seed last season to the 14 seed by seeing they're a favorite to win the match against Duck. But that's going to be a really interesting match between the 2 bots. It's going to be very difficult to see who wins that one. And going right below to the 6 seed Whiplash taking on the 27 seed Bite Force. The defending champion sneaks in at number 27, and they have a rematch with a Whiplash that has been on a roll this season. Whiplash has taken out Tantrum, Lunar New Year, and Talon, all very dangerous opponents and all vertical spinners. This Bite Force has defeated Whiplash in their past 2 games, but Whiplash has not had that anti-spinner wedge. That wedge has just been the saving grace for Whiplash. It's been exactly what they have needed to avoid losing their lifter in the first 5 seconds and being able to counter these ground-scraping weapons, ground-scraping wedges. Whiplash has been an absolute roll, but we did see Bite Force use those hinged wedges to great effect against uppercuts in their final fight. We'll have to see if Bite Force's forks will work again and the defending champ go 3-0 against Whiplash, or Whiplash finally getting revenge and, as the heavily favored bot, move on to the round of 16. Going right below that, the 11 seed Titan taking on the 22 seed Fusion. Fusion went sneakily 3-0 and could have gotten the number 5 seed had they defeated Witch Doctor, but since Witch Doctor absolutely mauled them, that dropped their ranking a lot. Nice have draw a dangerous 11 seed Titan. Titan was last season's number 29 seed, and an 18 seed jump is absolutely great for this bot. They've been performing incredibly well, only losing to Siege Engine, no shame in that. And honestly, Titan could be a huge threat in this bracket. I could see them making it far in the tournament. And anyways, that's enough for Quadrant 3. Let's move on to Quadrant 2. And the number 2 overall seed is the Other Glitch. The Other Glitch, as a rookie, has done absolutely phenomenally. They have let nothing stand in their way. They've just been incredibly dominant. Barely a bunch of nobody has really been able to get underneath them. They took down Monochrome, who eventually wound up going 3-1. Just ripped apart Endgame, tore apart J-Dragon, and then absolutely dominated Extinguisher. Not too many people were expecting that. And I believe it was around 60-40 vote. And there were people who thought the Other Glitch could win, but it was not, it was not in their favor. With the Other Glitch taking that number 2 overall seed, and with some just absolute deserve, the only rookie to go 4-0, and it's just this is an incredible season for them. Let's see who's in this quadrant as well. Alright, Cobalt sneaks in as the 31 seed. That is very interesting. Cobalt had a fairly tough season, got absolutely mauled by Bloodsport, and then immediately afterwards lost to Switchback, even though they were dominated. And Cobalt, I think it's a very interesting wild card, and if it gets lucky, it could wreak some havoc on the bracket, as it is still a very powerful weapon. But they did have some struggles this season that they'll have to work out not only in this bracket but in later competitions. Going right below them, the 15 seed Mannerheim taking on the 18 seed Stormbound. Good to see Stormbound in the tournament after last season. Stormbound was very good, it's a very basic design, but it's a very effective design. It's good to see them in the tournament as a very decent seed at number 18. And the rookie Mannerheim getting the number 15 seed, they have faced a lot of big spinners, Sanawachi, Sunflower, Reticle, but the only time they fought a big vertical spinner was against Riptide, and they lost pretty badly there. However, Riptide, you see, is just a different level from some of these other vertical spinners in terms of sheer weapon power. But Stormbound is a lot more reliable than Riptide, as we have seen, and so it'll be very interesting to see how that fight turns out, and that could have big implications on the bracket. Speaking of Riptide, it's in our next fight, the 26 seed, the highest ranking 2-2 bot here, and they've drawn up against the channel mascot, the number 7 seed Nemesis. Absolutely terrible draw, especially after they just got mauled by Eye of the Storm in the last fight. They really did not want to see Nemesis in the bracket. I think they'd be happier with pretty much any other robot. Whereas Nemesis has also been ripping bots to shreds. Because you look at Whiplash, Uppercut, and Jade Dragon, they just all got absolutely mauled. They only struggled against the number 1 seed Sawblaze, and even there they landed some good shots. And if I had gone a little bit more their way, they could have ripped Sawblaze apart. But it's really a toss-up how Riptide performs. They did nearly throw Eye of the Storm out of the arena. So if they could, I believe Nemesis is lighter than Eye of the Storm. So if Riptide gets the right shot, they could very well pull off the upset here and bust a lot of brackets. But we'll have to see how that fight plays out in the tournament. And going right below, 10 seed Monochrome versus the 23 seed Switchback. Basically the exact same weapon, but very different designs, and both went 3-1. Of course, Monochrome and Switchback, both rookies here. Monochrome focuses a lot on the low ground. It's very wide, it's very low, it's a low center of mass. And it has just torn bots apart this season. It did struggle when faced with another wedge. But honestly, against Switchback, who's very high off the ground, very high center of mass, does not invest too much in the ground game. It's not too much, a lot more similar to other opponents that Monochrome face. Not as much same-day delivery, but bots like Sub-Zero and that's Sub-Zero. They're higher off the ground and concede the ground game a lot more to Monochrome. Switchback has also had a fairly solid rookie season. That drum has proven to be quite potent, but they just haven't had the same level of domination and success that we've seen Monochrome get. And moving on to quadrant number 1, your number 1 overall seed. You saw it with your own 2 eyes in the last main event of the season. But if you didn't, you should go watch that episode like right now before we go back to this. But your number 1 overall seed is, of course, Sawblaze. Sawblaze has been on an absolute tear this season. Last season, number 8 seed got knocked out in the round of 32 last season. They have just been out with a vengeance. Dominated Emergency Joe's decision, knocked out Glitch, dominated the channel mascot Nemesis, who we just saw took the number 7 seed. They just completely destroyed Nemesis, and then getting the upset win over Siege Engine. That's an outcome that barely anybody predicted would happen. And Sawblaze, with those 2 big wins, Nemesis and Siege Engine, getting those massive upsets, really cemented its number 1 seed just by the sheer strength of schedule and its effectiveness that is proven in combat. Anyways, who are the other 7 bots in the bracket? The last 7 bots to be revealed. And here we go. The number 32 seed sneaking in is last season's number 4 seed Yeti. A very interesting choice by the selection committee at me, but Yeti sneaking in, and honestly, they have a decent chance of upsetting Zombies, I think. That drum has proven to be very potent and also decently effective against bots with low wedges like Zombies, but I have a feeling Sawblaze has easily the ability to pull this off. But Yeti is not going to it's not going to be a quick fight, I don't think. And then right below the 16-17 match is indeed a rematch between Biohazard and Eye of the Storm. That was a main event in the 3rd round of fight cards. Biohazard took that one, and in a very close fight, they somehow self-righted in that fight. We saw Eye of the Storm with these potential, but I don't really see Biohazard having that same mishap that they did in that fight here. Biohazard, as we've seen, very, very good against horizontal spinners. And I think we'll be seeing Biohazard in round 16 yet again. And going on to the 825 match, Thunderbolt and Huge. The Flipper King draws the lowest ranked 3-1 bot. But honestly, this is a very tough match for Thunderbolt. Huge, a very difficult bot to flip, and it's also very heavy. It is very awkward. And Huge, designed to counter flippers in real life, and it's been very effective at doing so, but in Lego, it's going to be very interesting to see how that fight plays out and who gets into the round of 16. Following up with the number 9 seed Tantrum, the defending runner-up, sneaking in maybe a bit lower than they like, but still very high, very good performance by Tantrum this season. And they also gained a lot of momentum as the season has progressed, winning that fight against Snowfall late in the season, just absolute domination against a tournament bot. Very good for their resume. They're taking on the 24 seed rookie Gingerbread. They've looked pretty solid all season. It has been a good match. They've good seasons for them. They have good matches, but they have not faced the greatest of competition. And the 2 bots they beat dominantly went 1-3. They lost to Jay Dragon, who was barely 2-2. Probably should have been 0-4 considering their performances. And they did struggle a lot in their fight against Glitch in the final fight. So that's likely why they're so low. But honestly, Gingerbread could very well pull off the upset against Tantrum. But honestly, who knows what's going to happen in this bracket? This is a very interesting, very different from last season's tournament. Anyways, here is the full thing. You take a screenshot for yourself if you want, and post your predictions in the comments for who's going to win. And give your full bracket breakdown. And honestly, what do you think is going to be the most interesting fight of round 32? Alright, that's going to wrap it up for this bracket reveal. I'll see you in a couple days for when the first episode of the tournament is revealed.